Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. Mottek On Money, live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com and the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Well, of course, we'll be focusing on the Southern California firestorm disaster again this afternoon. Stay with 790 KBC for the very latest on the ongoing catastrophic deadly firestorm disaster here in Southern California and the ongoing wind and fire watches heading into tonight. The massive recovery effort is underway. Coming up in just a moment, I'll be joined live by Maria Salinas, the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, one of the largest business organizations, certainly in California as well as the United States. It's been serving the business community here for about 135 years. The Chamber has announced the Small Business Disaster Recovery Fund now in Southern California and spearheading the recovery efforts. The homeless situation is getting worse here in L.A. after the firestorms, with people scrambling to find apartments. I'll discuss the very latest on that and more with Daniel YUKELSON, the executive director of the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. Lawsuits have been filed over the firestorms as well, several against a major utility in the San Gabriel Valley, as the cause of the Eaton fire continues to be under investigation. We'll get the latest on that with the Honorable Steve COOLEY, who will be joining me live, former Los Angeles County District Attorney and, of course, prominent attorney here in the Los Angeles area. Stock market ending higher today. Looks like the Biden administration now in the history books on Wall Street. This was the last day of trading under President Biden as investors head into a three-day holiday weekend, which will include President Trump's inauguration on Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. The Dow coming in for a closing gain of 335 points today. The S&P 500 up 59. The NASDAQ gained nearly 300 points. For the week, all the major averages did post gains, with the Dow seeing a 3.7% gain for the week, the S&P 500 at nearly 3%, and the NASDAQ moved higher by 2.4%. The yield in the 10-year note has eased to 4.61%. President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration will take place inside the U.S. Capitol on Monday rather than outdoors because of severe cold in Washington, D.C. That's the first time in 40 years that the presidential inaugural ceremonies will be moved indoors. First time since the inauguration of President Ronald Reagan for his second term in office back in 1985. Looks like stocks closed out the Biden era on a high note as the president bids farewell to the White House. We'll be taking a closer look at the market performance under the current administration and compare it to other presidents over the years. Our great market historian and participant here on 790 KBC, Ken Winans, market historian, will also be joining me on Monday evening at 6 p.m. on Winning with Winans. We'll go over all of that as well. Price of oil posting a loss today, but rallying for the fourth week in a row. Oil popped above $80 a barrel, just below that here at the moment. What's not in your wallet? We're watching what's happening with Capital One. An outage affecting Capital One customers dragging into its second day today, further preventing some consumers from accessing deposits, payments, and transfers. The bank says it's still restoring systems that have been taken offline due to a technical issue with a third-party vendor. Focusing now on what's happening here in Southern California, following the horrific firestorms which we've seen over the past week or so. In fact, it was just about a week ago that parts of the San Fernando Valley were being evacuated as the fire threatened to go over the hill there, and parts of Brentwood had to be evacuated in a very chaotic situation. A massive recovery effort is underway, and spearheading that is Maria Salinas, the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. Maria Salinas, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Frank.
Maria, hope your family's okay. Hope you're okay. Hope members of the chamber are okay. Tell us, first of all, how you've been impacted by this firestorm over the last week or so.
Well, certainly we have completely activated the chambers to mobilize all the resources that we have and the attention to this devastation that has happened. Personally, I'm in the Pasadena area, so it feels very close, knowing so many of my neighbors and friends that have lost homes, lost businesses, lost communities. When you see the devastation that has happened on street after street, when it's not just the homes, but it's the community centers, the parks, the places where people would go to pray, to churches, schools. The list is endless.
Certainly a heartbreaking situation. And then, of course, Many people killed also, and businesses and homes absolutely destroyed in the Palisades, as well as in the Eaton Fire area there in Pasadena and in Altadena, as well as the other areas hit by the firestorm. Our heart goes out to all the residents and businesses impacted by all of this. And Maria, I know it's must be overwhelming here. This happens to be the anniversary of the Northridge earthquake, which we all experienced 31 years ago on this date, and certainly the recovery that's underway now seems to be similar to what we saw back in those days. Tell us about the recovery effort here now.
Yes, I definitely have been speaking to a lot of folks, both within the business community, but as well at the county level and the city level. And many of the things that I'm hearing is looking at this disaster and what's the closest things that we've experienced. Well, there was the civil unrest in '92. There was the Northridge earthquake that you mentioned as well. But there is nothing that compares to the magnitude of what is happening to Los Angeles in today's environment. From the community in Malibu and the Pacific Palisades to the Altadena, Pasadena area, and in between as well. The whole county is just, stepping out of something that was unimaginable. But I think as I have conversations, people rely on those experiences like the Northridge earthquake and what came to fruition to ensure that there was a recovery effort that was in place. I believe will be bigger than that. Of course, you see the vast devastation. And I think that this could be a time and a moment for Los Angeles to reimagine itself. And I know it's kind of hard to think about that today when we're still trying to assess the actual damage and the magnitude of this disaster.
On there live with Maria Salinas, who's the president and CEO of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. And Maria, tell us about the massive recovery effort that the Chamber is spearheading now with the Small Business Disaster Recovery Fund and all the resources being mobilized here at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, because the small business community is something that is very near and dear to the work that the LA Area Chamber does and has a very long history in supporting. And very early on last week, we knew that our small businesses were going to be suffering, if not because their businesses were completely destroyed or damaged, or because their home-based businesses, were lost in these fires. So we took it upon ourselves to think about the idea of providing a relief fund, something that could bring immediate financial relief as well as technical assistance. And with partners like Bank of America, who initiated an inaugural gift of $500,000 into the fund, we were able to reimagine and rethink what this fund could do. To be able to support small businesses, not just with a grant, but with what we're calling a continuum of capital. We know that capital is very important to small businesses. We know that there are resources that are available through a network of CDFIs, a community development financial institutions. We have that network at the Chamber because we work with them to begin with on many of the other initiatives that we do, and so does Bank of America. So we put our heads together and thought, what if we can bring this network together to help support these small businesses and also provide them with a grant for financial relief, plus the technical assistance. That's how we rolled out this program. We believe that we can launch this in about 2 weeks time frame. We are definitely in the mode right now of seeking donations for this fund. We've amassed $1 million, and before I go home today, I hope to have an update on that. I've had many companies and organizations reach out and ask how they can get involved with this fund as well. So I'm very excited by the response and the outpouring of just support, even from across the country.
And indeed, around the world, we've seen donations coming in from Japan and other places. As we saw during the Northridge earthquake, by the way, people were were moved worldwide to help the recovery effort here. So indeed, it is a national and indeed a worldwide effort here. Now, Maria Salinas, President and CEO of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce, what's the best way to get information about this fund to mobilize businesses here as well as throughout the country and around the world to support this important effort here?
Well, if you're a business and you're looking to figure out how to support small businesses, I highly recommend that you go to lachamber.com. We have a donate button just on the home page, and it'll take you to all the information related to the Small Business Disaster Recovery Fund. You should know that we've been supported by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who has experience on their foundation side working with communities in disaster recovery and crisis management, and I'm so pleased with their support to help us establish this fund with the best practices that are needed. And it's been an outpouring from across the country. It really has. And, from across the state of California, across the region here as well. I know Los Angeles is feeling the love, at least the LA Chamber is, and we're here to commit to Los Angeles, to help Los Angeles rebuild, to help our small businesses, and we are going to work really hard to make sure that that happens.
On there live with Maria Salinas, the President and CEO of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. And Maria, anything else that you're hearing from business people that's needed at this time? Obviously, there's FEMA help here now and Small Business Administration loans and so forth. Any message you have for those at City Hall in Sacramento and in Washington at this point to further this recovery?
Well, definitely on a couple of different levels. For our small businesses, they should know that a major disaster declaration was made last week, which unlocked disaster funds through the SBA, as well as putting FEMA on the ground here with their disaster relief. Those are two separate pools of financial resources that are available to not only small businesses, but at least with the SBA disaster funds, those are available to homeowners, to renters, and to businesses of all sizes. I know we're not used to tapping into disaster funds here in this region, but we should know that that's available. We have a resource page at the LA Chamber website that, again, the donate button will take you there, that has a lot of this information. In terms of our elected officials and folks in Sacramento, across the county and the city here, I think there is a great need to ensure we build back better than before. That we've already seen the governor issue an executive order to streamline rebuilding and to remove CEQA and other regulations that could hinder a rebuilding effort. The mayor issued a similar executive order just 2 days ago that addressed debris removal and also focused on speeding up the process for building permits and things of that nature. It's going to take all of us to come together and collaborate and really put front and center the residents of Los Angeles so that they can get back into their homes, back into their businesses, and that has got to be the top priority for all of us, to come together and to be able to do just that, to make Los Angeles resilient and, the great place that it is.
Certainly, we're with you on that all the way. Maria Salinas, the head of the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. And I don't know if you had a chance to follow the news this afternoon, but one of the big announcements this afternoon is that Steve Soboroff, big name in the business community here, as well as a civic leader, a former police commission president, and also real estate developer, has been named to serve as Chief Recovery Officer. He was named by Mayor Bass this afternoon. Will you be working with Steve Soboroff on the recovery effort here?
Absolutely. We've already been in touch with his office or him directly, and I expect that we'll have a conversation very soon here. Earlier in the week, I did have an opportunity to speak with him in a different forum, as did others from the chamber. So I do believe that the business community is an integral part of any recovery that we have in Los Angeles. I've seen the tremendous generosity of not only businesses providing financial resources, but also bringing their leadership, their expertise in their respective areas. We're going to need it all. We need to build back housing, build back commercial spaces. We're going to need to understand so many different aspects of the whole rebuilding process here that I know that the business community is ready and very much interested and willing to help support.
Under your leadership, will you be reaching out to other business groups? For example, Tracy Hernandez at BizFed, who was on the show yesterday, and the LAEDC with Stephen Chung there, and all the big business groups. Is everyone coming together for this effort?
Absolutely. About a day after this started, we activated a coalition that's called Together for LA, which includes LAEDC, so Stephen Chung is at the table. It includes BizFed, where Tracy Hernandez is at the table. It includes county and city leaders as well. This coalition was started during the pandemic when we thought that, hey, it's important for all of us to be coordinated and to be making sure that we can coordinate the resources that our respective organizations have. And so now it's been easy to quickly activate and quickly put into motion plans to sharing resource information, sharing information about what our respective organizations are doing. I sat in with Tracy at a call this morning. She sat into some of mine. Same thing with Stephen. Stephen and I are tied at the hip. This is, like I said, we're collaborating and working across our respective organizations within the business community. We all have a really important job to do and have expertise in certain different areas, and we're going to come together to make this recovery happen.
That is very wonderful that all the troops are mobilizing here in the Los Angeles area, and this horrific disaster, which continues, by the way. It's hard to believe that some of these fires have not yet been fully contained, and still there's no rain in the forecast, which is quite significant for the foreseeable future. So tender, dry conditions, the fire danger is very, very high. So everyone must stay vigilant at this point, right, Maria Salinas?
Absolutely. I think that the other thing that we are sharing, we definitely need to follow the instructions that our frontline workers are sharing with us. I know that homeowners are antsy to get back into their homes. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with Chief McDonald today, and it's very real, the toxic environment that exists with so much ash and other toxins that are in the air. So we are very supportive of our frontline workers and definitely want to heed the instructions of our emergency personnel to us.
It certainly has been wonderful to see how many businesses have contributed to the relief efforts. Those who have not been directly impacted by the firestorms, tremendous donations going on. Obviously, the homeless issue is only getting worse at this point. It's great to see efforts there as well. Anything else that you'd like to mention, Maria Salinas, positive things that you've seen in reaction to this great tragedy here?
Well, the positive is just the human spirit. Without a doubt, neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers. I think you see on TV just like you see the devastation, you've also seen coverage of tremendous generosity. The people of Los Angeles are resilient people and very giving. And I've seen that outpouring that has come to Los Angeles from across the country, from my own chamber network and chamber colleagues that have reached out and said, how can we help Los Angeles? That is very heartwarming in a time period when you see images and have families and friends that are truly suffering. So I'm going to keep that positive outlook that we are going to come out of this very strong and definitely, with that human spirit that really drives us.
That's wonderful, Maria. And anything else you'd like to mention here? Maybe the how best to connect with you and the chamber, as well as that important fund that's being established here now.
Yes, again, so our website is at lachamber.com, and we put our button to tap into the donate and into our resource right on the first page. But I would also encourage folks to reach out to look up our social media channels, whether it's a LinkedIn, an Instagram, a Facebook. We are posting regular updates on information that is important and relevant to what is happening right now. I can be reached through those social channels as well. I think it's really important at this time for us to make sure that we're providing relevant information that is useful.
Maria, all the best to you and everyone there. Count on our full support, of course, so we'll let you get back to your important work. Now, thank you very much for that important update here this afternoon. That is Maria Salinas, the president and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. Maria, we wish you all the best, and certainly our hearts go out to all of those that have been impacted, and you have our full support here.
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And right out to the freeways we go now, 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. Fire coverage continues in just a moment. First on the markets today, the Biden administration now in the Wall Street history books. The last day of trading today under President Biden. The Dow closing higher today by 335 points at 43,488. The S&P 500 of 59 at 5,997. The NASDAQ up nearly 300 at 19,630. The yield in the 10-year note at 4.63%. The markets will be closed on Monday, which is a federal holiday honoring the birth date of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's also Inauguration Day on Monday. President Donald Trump will be sworn into office for a second time. We did see the cryptos come to life today in a big way. Bitcoin right now at $104,344. Ethereum at $3,475, and Doge got a pop today as well at 41 cents. Taking a look at some of the movers today, we saw Intel move higher by nearly $2 at $21.49. Tesla getting another pop today at nearly $13 at $4.26 and change. Gold still hovering near its record high, down to $220 here at the moment at $2,748.70 an ounce. The record high is around $2,800 that we saw back in October. Silver down 68 cents at the moment at $31.05. The VIX index, the volatility index, slipping today by 4%. And now the latest news for you here in 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. The catastrophic firestorms here in Southern California, many people scrambling for housing at this point. Many apartment and property owners are offering support and making special accommodations to ensure that those displaced in the firestorm find housing. The Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles leading many of these efforts, offering various resources on their website. We're also seeing reports that some landlords and realtors have been accused of hiking rent prices significantly, in some cases more than double, after the devastating firestorms. This despite action in Sacramento, which bans price gouging above 10% of pre-disaster prices, carrying penalties of up to a year in jail and a $10,000 fine. Also, the LA City Council this week discussed various proposals and ultimately delayed a proposal to enact a citywide eviction moratorium and rent freeze, opting instead to send the motion to committee for further consideration. Following all these developments closely is the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles Executive Director Daniel YUKELSON, who joins me live on the air here now. Daniel YUKELSON, thank you very much for taking the call, and must be a lot of heartbreaking stories you've encountered. Hopefully you're okay. First of all, tell us about your experience thus far in this disaster.
Well, thank you for having me on again, Frank. It's really been a very, very tough week or so. I personally know many people, friends and family, who've lost properties, both investment properties and personal residences. And it's really been very hard on them and their families, and tough for everybody to watch them go through it. But as you had mentioned, there's just been an outpouring of offers for support. Just this past Monday, our association launched a listing site. We've never had a rental listing site before, but we put it together quickly over the weekend. And within 24 hours, we had over 1,000 available rental units, both single-family homes and multifamily in the area, outside the area. We even have some out-of-state listings there. And a lot of these property owners, truly want to help displaced wildfire victims. They are offering all kinds of incentives. Some are willing to forgive security deposits. Some are offering free application fees. Some are offering no penalties for early cancellation of a one-year lease. I mean, they're doing everything they can to help wildfire victims. But on the other hand, as typically happens, the tenant groups are out there trying to make false allegations about price gouging. And a lot of those, for the most part, I would say over 99% of those claims are completely unfounded. There are some people that are new to the rental market who are putting their single-family homes. They may have a second home or are willing to give up their primary residence to somebody who are just not familiar with the rules, and it's unfortunate. I know ignorance is no excuse for the law, but they will eventually get a notice from some government body telling them not to price gouge. But what we've seen, and a lot of the tenant groups have pointed out, rental units that were one price on January 6th and have gone up more than 10% after the fire on January 7th. Well, there's a huge demand for furnished apartment units. These people lost everything. And so a lot of these property owners have now gone and they've rented furniture and they've increased the rental price just to cover their out-of-pocket costs. They're not looking at any markup on this rental furniture, and they're just making sure that they're furnished units, that they're outfitted with utensils and various supplies that people need because they have absolutely nothing. And so a lot of these are out there on social media with claims that there's price gouging out there, and it's completely untrue. And so here we are again, faced with more COVID-era regulations, eviction moratoriums and rent freezes that could extend 12 months or more. And, that is just completely counterproductive, and it's going to discourage a lot of people to want to make their properties available. And
on your live with Daniel YUKELSON, the executive director of the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. While we have the chance, what is that website where people can find those resources?
It's aagla.org/listings. And there's over 1,000 listings, and there's lots of resources out there about what to do about reconstructing your property, how to process insurance claims. It gives advice to renters on how to avoid fraud. There's been tons of application fraud, and tons of renters have been defrauded because people claim they own a building and they really don't, but somehow they have access and collect a security deposit and first month's rent, and you'll never see them again. So we just want people to be very careful because there's a lot of panic out there today. And so people need to tread very lightly and be really careful on who they're dealing with.
What's the latest estimate on how many people have been displaced here who are currently looking for a place to live?
Well, I understand the latest numbers are about 92,000 people. We've lost nearly 15,000 structures, both through the Eden and the Palisades fire. And so that's a lot of potential housing loss that, we may not see back here in the area for many, many years if those properties are redeveloped at all again, because the new building codes make it very, very expensive to redevelop properties with the latest codes.
And Steve Soberoff, I'm sure a name familiar to you, real estate developer, former head of the Police Commission, named by Mayor Bass this afternoon to head up the recovery effort. Any reaction to that news that came out this afternoon?
Well, it's good to have a level-headed person who understands our business and understands business in general, because for the most part, people that are in elected office, like Mayor Bass, have no clue about how to run a business and how to make investments in rental property and construct things. All they know how to do is waste a lot of taxpayer dollars.
Well, we have the chance, people looking obviously for whatever they can get in many cases, but anything that's caught your attention, having gone through that 1,000 listings there, where people can get the best bargain for their money at this point, and where are places available at this point?
Well, they're available all over the LA basin and even outside of the LA basin. And so it's, for people that want to rent 3 or more bedrooms, there's fewer of those units available. 1 to 2 bedrooms are readily available. One of the most unfortunate things, Frank, is you just can't put a property on the market, and people that may have single-family homes pending sale that have been sitting on the market, they can't just go out and rent those to somebody temporarily, because if a buyer becomes available later on, they may not be able to recover their unit. And plus, you have to register those units. You have to pay fees today in the city of LA. There's literally 10,000 accessory units, former garages and laundry rooms that the city of LA won't allow to be rented out. They're perfectly habitable and safe, but they were constructed before all the state ADU laws changed. And so unless you're willing to sign up for a 55-year affordable housing covenant, you just can't rent those. So the city and other local jurisdictions really need to get out of the way. There's minimum 1-year lease requirements. Well, some of these people are not going to want a full year lease. And so we need to streamline some of the regulations for these emergency victims to help them out, get them housed as quickly as possible.
Wish we had more time, but Daniel YUKELSON, thank you for that important update, and we'll keep an open line to you on this huge issue here, housing. And we've been speaking to Daniel YUKELSON, the Executive Director of the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. Once again, their website is aagla.org. Daniel YUKELSON, we wish you and everybody there all the strength in the world to get through this, and thank you very much for joining us live this afternoon.
Thanks, Frank.
Out to the freeways now, 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC, and our firestorm coverage continues. Lawsuits have now been filed over the firestorm in the San Gabriel Valley in the Eaton fire, which remains uncontained. Lawsuits have been filed against Southern California Edison, the major utility in that area. This, as the cause of the Eaton fire continues to be under investigation. This week, the KJT Law Group, in collaboration with former Los Angeles District Attorney Steve COOLEY, filed a massive lawsuit against Southern California Edison, alleging the company was responsible for the Eaton fire, which has claimed more than 7,000 structures and left thousands displaced, and also claimed a number of lives, tragically. Joining us live now, the Honorable Steve COOLEY. Mr. COOLEY, thank you very much for taking the call here. Our hearts go out to everyone impacted by all of this. And tell us, first of all, are you okay, and how you've been impacted by all this?
Well, I live in Palos Verdes Peninsula area, about 20 miles from the closest fire, which would be Pacific Palisades. So we don't even see the smoke down here and can't smell it, but we can certainly hear from our friends in that area and in the Altadena area who have lost everything, and it's tragic, everything. And so many of them. Just
awful, absolutely heartbreaking. And tell us about the lawsuits that have been filed this week.
Yes, KJT Law Group and myself filed a lawsuit in Pasadena Superior Court against Southern California Edison. It's a multi-page lawsuit setting forth the claim against Southern California Edison as the cause of the fire. We do have an eyewitness to the fire's initiation and origin and cause, and we are now gathering other evidence using my investigators so we can prove our case against Edison.
Very serious matter here, and when a situation like this happens, what kind of liability potentially could the utility face in a situation like this?
Well, billions of dollars. When you're talking about 7,000 structures, probably the bulk of which were homes, you're talking about billions of dollars. That's just in terms of the damage and the loss of property. Then you throw in the nuisance value where people were displaced, dislocated, and suffered other injuries. It's going to be probably beyond the capacity of Southern California Edison. They'll have to probably take advantage of a state fund that was set up to support utilities in these situations after the Paradise Fire.
Very, very serious matter. And Southern California Edison, last I heard, was still waiting to be served with the papers, and of course denying. They're saying that the cause is still under investigation. So we're eager to get them their side of the story at some point. But obviously, just a heartbreaking situation. What did we see on the videos that you've referenced? What evidence do you have that the power lines definitely caused this?
Well, some individuals who saw the fire initially start at the base of a transformer area, and the lines, the high-powered lines, and that The fire was there in that unique area, which is clearly under the control of Edison. It's an area that should be maintained according to certain standards that have been established by law. And we believe that was the origin. And we think the cause was the lines. And it was contributed to by the lack of maintenance of the brush on the ground. So we are also investigating. They should investigate. The state individuals responsible should investigate. And then the conclusion should be reached. And that will determine the extent of the liability of Edison. And there will be parts of our investigation that actually consider the liability of other entities. But I can't get into that quite yet. We're still looking into that aspect.
We're on the air with the Honorable Steve Cooley, the former Los Angeles District Attorney, who's, along with the KJT Law Group, filed a big lawsuit against Southern California Edison related to the Eaton fire disaster this past week. And while we have you on the line, of course, you handled many disaster situations and many law enforcement situations during your time in office. Under the new DA now, Nathan Hochman, cracking down on looting as well as other situations in this current disaster. What is your reaction to what's been playing out here with these with the looting incidents and the law enforcement response at this point?
Looting is one of the most despicable crimes on the books, other than murder. And I think that DA Hochman will treat it accordingly. I think it's already stated these are state prison cases for the looters. And the looters actually been pretty creative this time in this tragic situation. They posed as firemen. They're coming in as crews in rented cars and dressed in hoodies to cover up their identity. They're much more sophisticated. And I just wish there were an adequate number of sheriff's deputies and LAPD officers to really, most effectively, completely deal with the looting that has occurred.
The Honorable Steve Cooley, thank you very much for taking the call. We will keep an open line to you as all of this unfolds. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon. That is the Honorable Steve Cooley, the former Los Angeles County District Attorney. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang. I'll be back again next week. We have a 3-day holiday weekend, the inauguration of President Trump on Monday, and also the national holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The market will be closed on Monday. This is Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Hey there, I'm Paula Pan, host of the Afford Anything podcast. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible. How should that money get invested? Why value? Why not growth? We're going to answer all of these questions.
All of them?
All of them! From investing strategies and the thing about tariffs to economic trends and beyond.
In one episode.
In one episode. Can you believe it?
I got to ask for a raise.
What's 5% of zero?
Oh, crap.
Afford Anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.